Hey guys, welcome. Thank you for joining. This is the Oracle Autonomous Database Learning Lounge. I'm Marco Sarasivia, part of the product management team for Autonomous Database. And today we're going to have a very, very cool session on APEX, basically APEX on ADB, right? So how to actually use the world's most popular low-code app platform, right? Development platform on Autonomous, right? So for the agenda today, we're going to have Jayson Hanes. He's a senior principal product manager, and also Vlad Uvarov. He's a development manager with the APEX team, and they're going to be basically explaining to you guys the ins and outs of APEX and running that on Autonomous Database. So all the way from the benefits, right, of APEX, how easy it is, how great that platform is, right, in terms of the architecture, how it works, working with ATP and ADW as well. And having the HAD as well, the APEX service, all of these different components, right, and versions of APEX that are available. And then you're going to learn, how you can actually customize that application, the best way possible, right? So today we're going to have lots of product managers, listening in to your questions. So please make sure to type them into Q&A. Okay. So type your questions in Q&A. We're going to actually show you guys or send you guys links via chat, okay? And we're going to make sure that the recording is available probably by the end of the week, all right? So to begin today, I wanted just to share with you guys a few links on Autonomous. If you haven't been there yet, we have a new page for Autonomous, right, called Get Started with Autonomous Database. So I'm sharing the links right now in chat, if you guys want to take a look there. And basically that lets you guys get into everything that we have in terms of Autonomous, demos, LiveLabs, blogs, the latest news and things like that, okay? And then, you're feel free to join us, right, on LinkedIn and X as well. And if you have questions, we always have, Stack Overflow, right, available. So again, thank you very much, Jayson, and thank you, Vlad, for joining. I'm going to stop sharing and I'm going to let you share your screen. I think it's Jayson, you start, right?
Yes, Marcos, indeed. Welcome, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. Vlad is primarily going to be working on answering all your detailed questions, and hopefully I'm going to be presenting a lot of good content that leaves no questions to be asked. But it's okay to get into details, get into the weeds. Vlad is he knows everything about APEX on Autonomous Database, everything on Oracle Cloud. I am an APEX product manager. I'm more about this being my box of APEX itself, but as everyone is endeavoring to learn more about APEX on cloud and cloud in general, it's always a learning journey. I mean, I've been using PL SQL for the better part of 30 years, and I'm still learning things about PL SQL. In any case, my name is Jayson Hanes. I'm here to talk to you about building and deploying low-code apps on Autonomous Database with Oracle APEX. Vlad is also here. He's on the development team, and I'm just a product manager, right? So I know a lot about APEX. I'm learning about APEX on cloud just like everyone else. But I've been developing software for the better part of literally 3 decades, 30 years, right? I used to be a Java and a .NET developer, and I switched to APEX in the mid-2000s, 2006 area. And I've been developing APEX apps ever since. I've never looked back to that high code way of developing software. So the agenda today is we're doing an Oracle APEX overview. I'm going to do several demos, talk about the architecture of APEX in general, primarily from the aspect of apex.oracle.com. So if you haven't been to this website, please do click on the link. Almost all the content in the slideshow and the demos is accessible on the website. A lot of good information there. But that website also hosts an evaluation instance of APEX. So at any time, you can have a workspace created there and exercise all the good stuff having to do with APEX right there. But of course, this particular presentation is geared more towards APEX on Autonomous. So we're going to see how that works. I'll do another demo there of building an app, and then we'll talk about some of the APEX, maybe discuss a little bit about some best practices, maybe some myths, and maybe some good information. And throughout the whole session, use the Q&A button in Zoom to ask your questions, and the panelists, including Vlad and I, will do our best to answer your questions as we go. And if we have time at the end of the hour, we will try to specify some time to work on some of those other questions and answers. So here we are with the Oracle APEX overview. What is Oracle APEX? Well, it really is the world's most popular enterprise low-code application platform. We understand there are other, competitors in the space of doing software development on the web. Some of it is low-code, some of it is higher code, but Apex in particular is great for enterprise low-code applications. Not just the simple one-offs, the simple proof of concepts, but very large applications are being built by Apex customers around the world in organizations big and small. And Apex enables you to build these scalable and secure enterprise apps with world-class features. 20 times faster with 100 times less code. This is really important from a developer's perspective because it saves you time, saves your organization money. Maybe you're in charge of the organization and it saves you money. Choosing Apex to develop these applications just makes good sense simply because you're using reusable components, you're declaratively configuring the features and function of those components, and overall, our approach using Apex is to use as little code as possible and use whatever is baked into the product that is all declarative and easy to configure and use. But at the end of the day, Oracle Apex delivers the most productive way to develop and deploy these custom apps for use by any modern browser on any device, by way of any cloud, Oracle footprint, or on-premises even. But basically understand anywhere that Oracle database is available and licensed, you can use Apex for free and make production apps available to the world over. And Oracle Cloud and Autonomous Database simply makes all of this come together and work far better than ever before. It's been a while since I've even installed Apex from scratch, let alone Oracle Database from scratch, because Oracle Cloud makes it all wizard-driven and a lot easier to do. These days, the product is known as Oracle Apex. Notice the phonetic there, the long A. It's the product used to be known as Application Express. So some people talk about it as Apex, but it is Apex. And if you have a LinkedIn profile and you're an Apex developer, make sure that Apex is also uppercase, capital A, P, E, and X, just like you see here at the uppercase. If not, you'll probably get a message from me asking you to update it because the branding is Oracle Apex. So apex@oracle.com. Hopefully you've already joined this page. I'm going to get this kicked off by talking about what an Apex app looks like and reviewing the simple app as we build the process and learning how to do this kind of stuff on Oracle Cloud with Autonomous Database. So that's a slide just showing you the website. Let me jump over to my browser and show it to you live. So this particular website has a lot of good information about Apex and Oracle Cloud right there at the top. We even have a section on Oracle Apex with AI, why Oracle Apex, and so forth. But also we have a lot of success stories, use cases, a lot of training opportunities and tutorials. We have a lot of great hands-on labs. And the demo I'm going to work with today is based on the spreadsheet hands-on lab that's in our hands-on lab tutorials page. So we also have training. We have the foundations course, and you can even get professionally certified today as an Apex professional developer. And this can be almost done in 2 days. If you were to start over a weekend, by Monday, you can take the training test or the certification test and get that badge and be certified as an Apex professional developer. But remember, in addition to a lot of the good information on this website, apex@oracle.com also hosts our customer evaluation of Apex, and Oracle Apex 23.2 is now available. It was released just a few weeks ago. It has a lot of great new features. You can click on the see what's new and review all of that in great detail, but you can also take it for a test drive and start for free today. You can get a free workspace right here on apex.oracle.com, which I will demonstrate shortly, or you can go straight to Apex on Oracle Cloud and get started with the Apex service or Apex on Autonomous Database for free, or even continue to go with a paid service that gives you a whole lot more capability and features for deploying your app across the world. Don't forget also, Apex is unique in that it can be installed on premises on your Oracle database that you may have already in your infrastructure. So what I want to do is let's talk about an example app, right? A simple app. What are the pieces of it? What do you need to know about an Apex app in general, especially if you're new to Apex? So here I am in my workspace already. This instance is apex@oracle.com. I already have a workspace and I've signed in. Once you get in, any application you've installed or created from scratch is going to be in your workspace. Think of it as your sandbox. There is a gallery of other sample apps you can install and even some productivity apps. But at the end of the day, this is the app builder where you can build your applications from scratch or run them as a developer. You have the ability to go under the, behind the scenes, under the hood, and customize all the components of these pages within these apps, or just allow your users to use any of these apps via a link. But I'm going to show you a little bit about what's going on here behind the scenes as we go. The first things first, I'm going to open up this application called High Schools. And this application demonstrates a nice end result as a proof of concept working from a bunch of data that can be used as a source for creating an application in Apex. And this is important for all Apex developers because it is the shortest path to a proof of concept of a working application based on your data. And it's not just limited to data in Oracle database. You can also build apps based on data from REST endpoints and other third-party databases as well. But this is just the real starting point of what Apex is all about and the simplicity offered in building apps with Apex. Here is a dashboard page. I've got a pie chart and bar charts. They're interactive, they're rich. I could click on any of these links and be brought to a filtered report. However, I navigate again to another page. I see other components, including a faceted search with a bunch of computed statistics and a classic report. There's a lot of rich functionality for the end users in using these components. They're world-class, they're responsive, and they work virtually on any device with any size screen extremely well. Now, granted, some Apex apps can be customized even further to offer an even better user experience, but out of the box, almost all of these features and page components work extremely well and require almost no code at all to offer your end users some very amazing features on top of the data. From there, we have a schools report page. This is using something called an interactive report. Not only can we do things that are common like searching and filtering, but there's an actions button where we can do even more things that are common to what you might expect to be able to do in Excel from the end user perspective. So this particular component, this interactive report, offers a lot of rich functionality to users with almost no customization from the Apex developer at all. You literally point this component to your data source and all these features become available to your end users, which is really cool. No HTML, CSS, JavaScript, or anything like that to make this magic happen. Further, Apex offers the ability to create things like pages where we can fill in data and create new records. You notice I click that button for create. There's also edit links here for each record. And when I click that button, it opens that same form with the data populated. So you know that a query of some sort was run to pull this data live from Oracle database. And it's now rendered on the screen. And this offers full CRUD capability. That's create, report, update, and delete right to your Apex application with no code at all from the Apex developer. In addition, Apex is expanding its capabilities with new page components every release that not just the developer ease of use for offering features to end users, but offering end users real world-class functionality that they've learned to expect. In the past, to do something like this map with all these points on a map used to require a bunch of code, API access keys, accounts. You'd usually have to pay for how much you use it over the month or how much your users use it. But with some of these components, they're available in Apex to your users with no additional cost, just like Apex itself. Apex is a no-cost feature of Oracle database, no matter where you have Apex deployed and in use, and that includes Oracle Cloud or on this evaluation service available at apex.oracle.com. So that was just a review of a quick, simple app. It's all based on those page components, but bear in mind, everything you just saw can be completely customized. The look and feel, the orientation, like how it's placed on the page, the arrangement, all these things can be customized at Apex. You're not limited to, oh, here's a report and you're stuck with how it works. You can actually play with this to a great extent as a developer, offering your end users some very great features and functionality. The key characteristics of Apex, I mean, there's no software to install for the developer. The developer does all the development right from the IDE that is in a browser of your choice. I was using Microsoft Edge. You may choose to use Firefox, Chrome, or even Safari if you're on Apple, or Mac OS or iOS even for that matter. But all these apps work on those devices, but so does app development. Nothing to install, and IT departments love this because they don't have to deploy desktop images that include any software to allow them to begin development. Just a URL. The app definitions that are created by us Apex developers are stored as metadata in the database. There's no code generation from Apex. It is completely declarative unless you choose to go behind the scenes and start working with custom JavaScript or maybe even some custom PL SQL in the back end. But at the end of the day, what we're doing as Apex developers is not creating anything where code is being generated. Subsequently, nothing to compile. Remember, I mentioned I used to be a Java developer. we always had to create text files based on classes, and then we'd had to compile that code to a working application. That's not how Apex works. And further, Apex is not a middle tier technology. Apex itself is inside an Oracle database, which gives efficient execution with only one request and one response. Sometimes, obviously, there's going to be some churn on the database side, doing queries, compiling data, and then returning it to the browser. But this ultimately leads us to zero latency data access when the data is local. But the data does not have to be local and is still extremely fast, even with remote data. So the low-code platform includes much more than just the app builder I've shown you so far. I went into app builder, showed you different applications in my workspace, but there's also a SQL workshop built into Apex, team development, and an app gallery, and other features all available within that IDE you bring up in the web browser. You can build these powerful cloud apps using the web browser, import and export data very similar to what a DBA would do. As a developer in Apex, you can also publish REST APIs that are then accessible and usable from the perspective of, here's my data, let me open it up to the world to be consumed, or open it up to even other apps on other installations of Oracle database where Apex is. All this stuff is very capable and extremely feature rich. You can integrate local and remote data in one app, make it available to another app. All this stuff with REST is just amazing. And since 2018, REST in Apex has become a first-class citizen where you can do almost all these things over REST with no code at all. You just need to know credentials, a URL, and integrate it into your Apex apps. There's just so many different features that are available in Apex. Each one of these things, and in some cases, each feature of Apex itself could require an hour of just demonstrating what's possible with these various features. And of course, it's all documented. We have videos and we have a lot of stuff on our YouTube, as well as hands-on labs that are available to anyone to take at any time to learn how to use all these features in real-world application development. So Apex is all about low code without limits. You can build the most sophisticated of apps on just one platform. You can extend Apex apps by including analytics, machine learning, and even generative AI. So if there's a REST endpoint for a service, whether it's any of the popular ones that you've heard about, or you've maybe even experimented with at this point, they all can be leveraged in Apex anywhere, as long as that service can be reached from your Apex instance or database instance. As long as you actually have, an API key, or maybe a little know-how in how to wire that up by following the steps. Apex, especially on Oracle Cloud, can handle the largest workloads, but there are no limits on the number and types of workloads. Pricing is not based on these numbers. You simply add more compute or storage to support your needs from that Apex installation in Oracle Cloud. With Autonomous and Apex service, the scalability literally is only about how it gets used and how well your application works versus maybe the workload, how many users need to be able to use that application concurrently and so forth. But the end of the day, in Oracle Cloud and Autonomous, you can scale to handle any number of users, from one user to millions of users, with no additional data ingress or egress charges and no limits on the throughputs. So the pricing has nothing to do with users, developers, or end users. All that is included. Apex is a no-cost option in every licensed Oracle database, and that includes cloud. And there is no additional charges per month or otherwise. Once you have access to your Apex installation, you're ready to go. But bear in mind, you might want to have multiple Apex instances to work with. Perhaps you have a dev instance. Perhaps you then have a UAT or stage instance, and even a production instance. And you could shuffle that around between the available options in Oracle Cloud that fits your needs. So we covered a lot of these different details. Know that Apex also does run on premises. So that means if you have Oracle database in your organization on-prem, you probably already have Apex running. Maybe the DBAs haven't made it available, but you can. If you can get it made available, or you can deploy certain new features with Oracle's cloud with Apex on any of those services. And Autonomous is just the best option for Apex in any cloud. Available also on other clouds in a multi-cloud configuration if you wish. That's also optional. But we have customers that run Apex in an Oracle database on a computer VM in other clouds as well, and not just on Oracle Cloud. But we want to make sure you understand that Apex simply runs best on Oracle's cloud on Autonomous database. So what I want to go back to show you now is back into Apex and how we would build that sample app. So I have this map up from when I just demonstrated a working app. This is the New York City Schools application. I'm going to close that tab. I'm back in Apex and App Builder, and I want to show you what it looks like to build an app from scratch today. Now, this is Apex 23.2. We see the version in the bottom right-hand corner. I'm going to create an app from a file. So naturally, this is following the workshop and the hands-on lab that has to do with building apps from a spreadsheet. And this is why I'm working with the New York City High School spreadsheet data. But this is how easy it is for everyone to build apps with Apex today. Oracle's Cloud simply makes it easier to be in full control over the whole process. So I'm going to make a data table in this Oracle database called schools. I'm loading the data. Apex parses and identifies the different data types. I'm loading the data into a table. It's called schools and it has 427 rows. And immediately in Apex, I'm presented with the option to create an application. When I click that button, I'm brought to what is called a blueprint wizard, and I have the ability as an Apex developer to customize a whole bunch of things here. I could change the look and feel. I could add a page. However, several pages have been suggested and are available to just run with it. I could customize some of these, but I can see quickly that I'm going to have that dashboard page with charts. The faceted search is going to have its own page based on the school's data. That's where we saw the classic report. And there's also a schools report page, which is included with a interactive report and a form. This represents 5 pages at least. But if I wanted to start with a map page also, I could add it right here if I chose to. Further, at the bottom, I have a whole bunch of features. When these features are enabled or checked at this point, we're telling Apex that when this app is built, to also include these features and all the UI or user experience pages that are necessary to interact with those features. So I can immediately have checked all that, hit click create application, and now Apex is in the process of building out this application from scratch. And any Apex developer, citizen developer, beginner, even professional can take advantage of this no-code approach to building a working application in less than 30 seconds. So my app has been built. I see there are 30 pages. I see the original 5 pages that were suggested in the blueprint, and I'm ready to run the app. So when I hit run, I'm ready to credential in. Every Apex app is secure by default, and I now see exactly what I demonstrated moments ago. But this doesn't have a map page. However, this particular session, we're not talking about how to develop Apex apps in detail, but we have all kinds of videos published, and of course, our hands-on labs walk you through that. You can go behind the scenes and customize every bit of things you see here. We could even change the look and feel to dark mode, change the navigation somewhere else, add pages. Notice there is no map on this app. I could add a map page very easily with no code as well. So that's the whole idea of building an application in Apex from scratch. So what we just saw is also demonstrated by the Peak Solutions time and motion study. They used React.js framework and Apex to build an app in both and to see how long it took. Now, this particular study was done with a set of requirements that were very common in app development for mobile apps. And they found out that using Apex, it was 38 times faster than using React.js. And it required 20 times less code. This is significant because these numbers directly correlate to the savings of time and ultimately money. And that's what this is all about. Further, the reduction of code debt, not having to worry about learning about APIs or how to configure things at the high level of JavaScript code is definitely a win for any developer. And that's why I went from Java 17 years ago to using Apex, because I didn't have to worry about all the things that went into making applications work the way they do. This particular meme has been floating around on the internet for a while, but it is the best cartoon summary of what we just reviewed. High code versus Oracle Apex. High code usually requires various things like you see on the cart on the left. And this guy's asking, is that all you need? Just that box called Apex? And the answer is a resounding yes. That's all we need to deliver these applications in production with Oracle Cloud. It's even easier in Oracle Cloud, as we'll show everyone in just a few moments. But before we get there, know that there have been these different studies and different analyst participation with customers where they've asked questions asking what solution or tools will you predominantly prefer in your organization for low code or no code application development. And Oracle keeps coming up at the top spot because of Apex. Oracle Apex is what's responsible for making everyone excited about building these low-code apps and delivering these solutions on Oracle database and, of course, in Oracle Cloud. The path to least resistance and saving time and money is what this is all about. And it just keeps beating out Microsoft, Salesforce, ServiceNow, all these other competitors cannot compete with what we can do with Oracle APEX at the end of the day, especially with Oracle Cloud. So what others say about APEX, these are customers that have gone to the Gartner website and participated in the Pure Insights review, where customers submit their assessment, rate us on stars, and we are the only vendor with above 70% and 5 stars, beating out, again, the same competitors in the purported low-code, no-code space. APEX just keeps coming out on top over and over and over again. So much so that Larry Ellison in the last couple Cloud Worlds has been on stage talking about his assessment and how Oracle is changing direction somewhat, in that most new applications from Oracle for our customers are being written using APEX. And his assessment is our productivity gains are a factor of 10, which simply translates to saving every developer and every organization time and money. But what Larry's bragging about on these particular cases and during this earnings call are about applications that are able to scale to millions of users all over the world, which we proved time and time again during the pandemic response and with other large-scale applications that have saved us time and money, and obviously also allowed applications to become production worthy in very low time, in record time in many cases. So much so, this is a good photo snapshot of the landscape of various organizations that rely on APEX and Oracle Database in Oracle Cloud. You can see a lot of names that are very recognizable, and this is just the tip of the iceberg of many of them that are being more productive and delivering solutions in APEX in record time, reducing time and money being thrown at development needs. It's just amazing what we're able to do with APEX as beginner developers even. You don't necessarily have to be super experienced in using APEX to make all this magic happen, and that's really what is exciting about APEX overall. We can also grow with it, and we can become more apt and able to go under the hood and customize things and build things out far above and beyond the declarative features that are in APEX out of the box, which is really cool. So let's talk about the APEX architecture in general. Any modern web browser on any device, doesn't really matter the screen. It's all about reaching out to the internet via URL, and always you're using ORDS as the middle tier. Oracle REST Data Services is the APEX Java web server. It can be augmented with WebLogic or Apache Tomcat for additional web server features, but this has nothing to do with the logic of APEX itself. ORDS is just the middle tier. It is the web server. And even in Oracle Cloud with Autonomous Database, ORDS is always deployed to make APEX accessible from your web browser. APEX is actually a PL SQL engine that is in Oracle Database, and it's a no-cost feature of Oracle Database. Now, you may have to maintain the installation if it's on-prem, or if you're in control of that database, you may have to do your own patching, just like you do with database itself. But the whole idea of going to cloud is, with Autonomous, that becomes none of your responsibility. And that's what's really cool about APEX on Autonomous. We're going to talk a little bit more about that now. But just know that even though the demonstrations I just did have to do with data in that instance of Oracle Database, you're not limited to just data in Oracle Database that you have APEX installed on. You can access data externally from any other web source via DB links or REST APIs. If there's a third-party data set on another database, in many cases, you either have the ability to create a REST API, or one is already available that just needs to be configured for the purpose. And then you create a data source in APEX, and then you configure your components to reach out to those different data set resources and work locally with the data from there. And it's extremely very capable. So the user experience for development, administration, and the experience in low-code applications is really organized in 3 groups. From an APEX instance, it's all about the APEX administration services that you get when you deploy APEX on your database. And this is where Oracle Cloud shines. When you're installing APEX on a database locally or on-prem, it usually requires the level of access that a DBA would normally have. But from there, we have developer workspaces, as I just showed you. And you have the ability to have those runtime APEX apps that the end users work with. But all these different perspectives work within the product as one product on Oracle Database, regardless of where it is. But here we're about talking APEX on Autonomous Database, otherwise known as ADB. A lot of acronyms in Oracle Cloud. So it's even a thing that I got to work on every day, making sure I'm using the right abbreviation. But to elaborate on the architecture slide from earlier, same thing overall, but you can see this whole in-cloud OCI thing with all these complementary services on Oracle Cloud, including object storage, other database services, networking features, DevOps, IDCS for your identity provider, all kinds of other expanded functionality exists because you would be using APEX on a database deployed in Oracle Cloud and with Autonomous. So there are different flavors of tenancy. You can get started with the always free and get APEX spun up to start experimenting with or developing with, but you're going to want to upgrade to some of those paid services at some point to take advantage of a lot of these other features, SQLnet connectivity, and so forth. But you're still all about building apps, maybe accessing data stores and APIs remotely, depending on the need. But know also that in Oracle Cloud, we have over 100 out-of-the-box connectors that you can use with Oracle Database in Oracle Cloud with Autonomous or the other flavors of different tenancy, which means these all can be leveraged in one form or another with APEX, with low code. Maybe not necessarily no code for all of them, but as a developer that has learned how to use a lot of these features, APEX can be used as your front end to almost all these different features to work with all these different kinds of data available on the internet in general, which is really kind of the power of bringing all this together in one cloud infrastructure. So Oracle APEX on ADB is available on all workload types. So there's ADW, which is Autonomous Data Warehouse, which is optimized for data warehousing and analytic workloads. And there's also ATP. And this is the Autonomous Transaction Processing instance where it's optimized for transactional mixed workloads, which makes it perfect for APEX. So APEX can still be installed on any of these instances or these tenancy options, but some of them have trade-offs. The APEX services are packaged opportunity for any APEX developer or organization to offer APEX development services right there in Oracle Cloud. It's at a price point that is very, very low and affordable, less than $400 a month. And it's a specialized service, but there is no SQLnet access to that instance. And that might be perfectly fine because you have all those DBA type features in APEX itself, like SQL Workshop. We have Object Browser, and you even have some other access to features in Oracle Cloud Console, such as Database Actions, which is very similar to just using SQL Developer on your desktop. So that might work just fine. But if you hit a limit there, maybe you want to do things like data pump, maybe you want to do DBA type things in an environment where you can connect your desktop SQL Developer or other tools directly to database, you're going to want that SQLnet access, and maybe you're going to upgrade to full ATP, or just go with any other flavor that suits your needs. Sometimes, like I mentioned earlier, you want to have multiple instances of APEX, and Cloud or Oracle Cloud make this extremely easy, easier than in any other cloud opportunity where Oracle Database can be used on a VM or compute node with APEX installed. So, or what workload type is right for you? Totally subjective. What is the best practice? Totally subjective. It depends on what you need to do and what you're trying to do with your instance of APEX. This slide talks about one-click data preserving upgrade. You can go from APEX service to additions and full autonomous database. That's a huge opportunity for you to get started on APEX service and then maybe move up to full ADB at some point. You don't have to worry about migrating. It's just a different approach, and it works really well for a lot of customers and a lot of development teams. But again, this is a comparison of paid services. Additional restrictions apply to always free shapes of these services. So something to keep in mind. But again, we're happy to answer any of these questions and try to help you navigate the best direction you should take. So from there, this is what APEX might look like from a cloud console perspective, right? When you are getting started with APEX and Oracle Cloud, it's all about signing into your tenancy, understanding that you have these different shapes of database, different flavors. There's autonomous database, autonomous data warehouse, also known as ADW, autonomous JSON database, and ATP. These different options all can direct you into a position where you're able to deploy that database, have all those features available, and then you can deploy a low-code app on autonomous database using APEX. There's actually a wizard in here where you can just one-click, fill out a few feature options, click a button, and within a few minutes, you have a full environment to start developing APEX apps with and using. You technically could use it for production as well, depending on whether it's suitable for your needs as a production app in that instance. It needs to be able to scale. All this feature set exists within Oracle Autonomous on Oracle Cloud, but you might need to scale up for more OCPUs, more data storage, and some of those things need to be kept in mind. But regardless, ORDS is still part of the picture here. The web server that we know as Oracle REST Data Services is part of every APEX deployment in Oracle Cloud. It looks pretty much like this when you're looking at APEX application development on the Cloud Console. You could have various databases already set up or deployed, and then you could have APEX already deployed where you can launch APEX and start developing today. At the end of the day, it's all about offering the same APEX developer experience on ADB as is on-premise or even on APEX.oracle.com. So now I want to show you that. So in another tab here, I'm logged into my Cloud Console. Let me refresh to make sure that I'm still alive. So this is what it looks like when I'm logged into a tenancy I have access to. And here's that quick start, that wizard. Deploy a low-code app on autonomous database using APEX. I could initialize this process and create a new one, but I already have APEX deployed. I have APEX deployed here in one of these databases in my demo compartment. It's ADB demo. This is what it looks like. I can see this is an APEX instance. I have the ability to go to, I can see all the different details. I can see that this is a paid instance type. I can see a lot of statistics. There's just a lot of great information available to me as a developer using the Oracle Cloud Console. But if I want to go into the tool, Oracle APEX, this is where I can go to tool configuration, grab that link, open up a new tab, and now this will allow me to log directly into my APEX instance on Oracle Cloud. So now I'm going to choose my username, password, and workspace. And now I will be logged into this particular instance I have in Oracle Cloud, which is deployed with this kind of URL. But we do have options in Oracle Cloud to be able to configure Vanity URLs and things of that sort to make it a totally seamless experience of being your own hosted environment. But just to show you how this works, and it's extremely fast, I'm going to create a new app. And I'm going to create a new app. Actually, let me switch gears and do it from a data set. We have a bunch of sample data sets in APEX. Before I use the New York City Schools CSV, here I'm going to go ahead and choose HR data. So I'm going to install this data on my installation. Whole bunch of relational tables are going to be installed. And then when I install data set, APEX is now deploying creating rather these table objects in my instance of Oracle database. So if I come back over here real quick, I want to create this simple app on ADB using APEX. And in theory, this should be done in just a moment's time. All these table objects have been created. There have been other database objects that were created as well, but that is kind of not exposed to us right now. We could use Object Browser and SQL Workshop to look at them in greater detail. But again, I'm presented with the option to create an application. I'm creating an application based on this data. You can see it's a demonstration of HR data. I can see all these different pages that can be created. All the options are selected, and I'm going to initiate that process. I could have customized any of this. I could have changed icons, look and feel, but you can see how quickly this is coming together from that data set that I installed from scratch in my new autonomous APEX instance on that database. So just like I showed you before with the New York City Schools, this is a pretty quick process at the end of the day. When it takes literally less than 30 seconds to deliver an application that's ready to run, that is something really special, especially when it's complicated. It has many tables, many relational features amongst the relationships of those tables that represent different pages. So this app is actually 46 pages long. I can hit run application. Again, I'm still in my autonomous database, and I'm going to log in with my credentials. And this app is ready to go. It's got a lot of other functionality. It's got some of the similar functionality because it was built with the same blueprint process. Same faceted search, same report type view, order search. I'm using now a cards view. There's an order screen where it's actually a master-child relationship with an interactive grid. Got a calendar. I mean, it's just really cool that we're able to put this all together very quickly from a data set. And again, this could have been data that's remote from other databases as well, but we were successful in building this out right here in our autonomous database. So let's move on to APEX on ADB features, right? This is where some of the best practices discussions might start. There may be different things to talk about as to why APEX service, or maybe can I use just the always free opportunity of autonomous database? Maybe you can, maybe it's not enough. But the big takeaway with Autonomous Database, above and beyond the love for the fact that Autonomous Database in Oracle Cloud is about doing automated patches and automated upgrades where you don't need to be a DBA or don't need to have a DBA on staff to do the work that would normally be expected on-prem. Right? Even if you're in other clouds, maybe on Amazon, maybe on, I don't know, Azure, you might have a Oracle database running on a compute or VM, but you would still probably have to patch it. You'd still probably have to upgrade it. With Autonomous Database, that responsibility is lifted from your shoulders. So Oracle's responsible for all the Apex patches and upgrades. With the whole idea of the releases that come out twice a year currently with Apex, any patch in between or that whole upgrade is handled automatically in Autonomous. As a developer or console administrator for your tenancy in cloud, you can opt in to a 45 or 90-day upgrade window. The idea here is twofold, right? You're staying up to date. You're ensuring that everything is patched for security issues or even new feature issues or bug fixes when you get new entire upgrades of Apex as well as database. But in addition, all of this stuff can be handled without having to do all the command line stuff. Even today, if I want to install Oracle database on my laptop from scratch, you've all probably seen the documentation. It can be quite daunting if you're not a DBA or if you're not familiar with following those kinds of instructions. But as I showed you in Oracle Cloud, you have that quick start, and almost every other feature of interacting with this stuff is all about enabling options you choose with a mouse. You point and click. So from the administration services that exists in Oracle Cloud with your instance of Apex on database, is you can see in the bottom right-hand side when you're logged into the administration services that it may show you if an update is available. It then shows you the opportunity when you click on that, how you can specify your upgrade window. And then you can also see if there are other updates that you might need to be concerned about and whether or not you need to upgrade your total instance of Apex on that instance. In addition to all that, it's good to keep up to date with the latest version of Apex and all the patches because it makes your life easier as a developer deploying these apps to your users. Bug fixes are a big deal. But at the end of the day, Apex and Oracle Autonomous Database has this link you can go to, the ADB updates page, and I'll put that in the chat. This is where you can see what the current status is for Apex on Oracle Cloud. You can see what's new, and you can see that this is when Apex 23.2 upgrade option became available. And what the instructions are to make that happen is really simple. There's a lot of links on here, but bookmark this page anytime when you're working with Apex on Oracle Autonomous in Oracle Cloud so that it's easily accessible because you might have questions. What is Apex 23.2 available? Maybe is Apex 24.1 available? That page will be where you get those questions quickly answered. You can also subscribe to email notifications for both notifications on the Autonomous Database as well as various events. And there are banners within that Apex Administration Services and App Builder to draw your attention to the current status of patches or upgrades available. So that's just something that you need to know. Best practice is to pay attention to any of these banners that are available in administration services or in a workspace when you sign in as a developer. None of this is visible to your end users. So bear that in mind. It is your responsibility as an Apex developer to keep track of these things. From there, Vanity URLs, which are custom domain names, are totally available. You can configure customer managed orgs or a fully managed solution. There are a lot of details in here, and knowing that this is even possible is half the battle. The whole idea of being able to provide these features in Oracle Cloud makes it a lot easier for us developers to make these features available in our apps. And previously, if you were doing it on-prem or doing it in your own data center service, you might be responsible for all of this, including certificates. And I don't know about you, but if I don't have to worry about certificates and whether they've expired or not, or if I need a reverse proxy or an application firewall configured, the features that are offered at Oracle Cloud save us a ton of time, not having to even learn about that, let alone try to work through the process. It's all handled in one case or another, almost completely automatically or wizard driven. There are private endpoints as an option. By default, Autonomous Database and the various tools are accessible from the internet, but you can configure it for a private endpoint on a VCN or virtual cloud network. A lot of details here. There are APIs. There are various things you can do as a console owner of your tenancy where you log in. You can go to database actions and run some of these scripts or some of these DML procedures to try to configure things. I don't really mean try, but you're actually able to configure these things to do all these various, to offer all these various features for your application. It's all very well documented, but there are some steps that you need to be aware of that have to do with configuring private endpoints. And again, knowing about this ability is half the battle. So it's probably a good practice to be keeping up on some of this in such a way where if you need the features of a VCN, how would you go about doing it? Just review the documentation and be familiar in Cloud Console where you would go to enable certain features like this. The App Builder authentication in Oracle Cloud on Autonomous is also capable and very easily customized for the purpose where it's one click, where you're offering single sign-on to your developers. But by default in Autonomous, Apex is using database accounts. So let me just show you this really quickly. This is my Autonomous workspace. If I log out, it's a unique, different, not unique, but it is unique. It is a subtle difference in that when you come to the sign-in screen, note here I'm on Autonomous on Oracle Cloud Apps, it's asking for database username, which is different than the APEX.oracle.com workspace or when you're doing it on-prem. If I go back to APEX.oracle.com and I sign out, you'll see that when I sign back in, it's asking for a username. So again, this is documented. So just be aware that when you're signing into Apex on Oracle Cloud, it does look a little bit different. And it's because it's using database username. But that screen can be customized and configured with one-click workspace selection when you have that configured in your deployment of Apex on Autonomous Database. So Oracle is heavily invested in Apex on Autonomous Database. We are OCI customers too. There's so much that goes into this. The best practice notion is almost a myth because it really is subjective to your needs from how you're going to use the Apex service, the Apex features that are available in other database options, whatever your tenancy choices are, whether it's the always free service or a paid tier, you have to keep up on it and be aware of what your options are, but you're not limited to what you get involved in. Maybe you start with always free and you start developing there, and then you want to go to a paid service. There's a path for that. Maybe you want to clone your database to test out a new edition or release of Apex. There's a path for that. A lot of wizard steps are greatly simplified simply by one-click options, such as the quick start for deploying Apex. The wizard questions go from being many dozens of particular options, maybe to just a few. So the Oracle Cloud Console offers so much there that we just have to keep learning about how we can make better use of it. And at the end of the day, it's about saving time and money. And Oracle Cloud and Autonomous Database definitely fits the bill when it comes to Apex. There really is no substitute for making Apex available to your developers or your customers than Oracle Cloud, because it's just done better with Autonomous Database. If I go back to APEX.oracle.com, in addition to all the information presented today, you have the hands-on labs, right? So if we go to Learn and Tutorials, you'll actually see all the newest hands-on labs we have. And one of them is about building AI-powered image search. And this is using other features. And it shows you how to use other features of Oracle Cloud and even other third-party features. We scroll down, we'll see the spreadsheet lab. So this is an example of a lab that's a live lab that talks about the same data set I demonstrated at the beginning, where it's in New York City schools, and you can build the app out yourself through guided step-by-step. You can do this on any autonomous database deployment of Apex or on apex.oracle.com today and learn about all the new features as you are working through the process. In addition, another exciting hands-on lab is building a social media app. If you want to learn how to, improve upon the features offered out of the box in Apex, this particular lab talks about using JavaScript for button activities and dynamic actions with custom events, all in a single page application. And it's just really fun to be able to see this come to life when you are able to use a mobile phone, hit that URL, take a picture and create a post just like you do with Instagram. And that's exactly what you can do here. So when you actually click on any of these links, you're brought to the Oracle LiveLabs page where it's all done by a table of contents. It tells you how to get started with the Apex service or autonomous database in Oracle Cloud, or even apex.oracle.com as I've demonstrated. And then you go through the process of following the steps to build the app out as walked through in the hands-on lab. So we're here to answer your questions. I see that some have been asked and answered already. Vlad is still here to be able to answer some details if you have any detailed questions. But now the floor is back to you, Marcos, in the event that you want to discuss any other details, or maybe you got back channeled with another question that I didn't cover.
Excellent. Perfect. No, thank you very much. It was great, Jayson. Really appreciate it. So guys, the Q&A is still open.
Let's see, Vlad's answered all these questions. Yeah.
Yeah, I see. I see. There's a lot of questions there. There are still a few people who are asking for like a LiveLabs link. They were asking about it in chat. So, as always, guys, we're gonna make sure to share all the links with you guys. So, and Jayson, we have a quick question here. Do you have examples? Do you have examples of Apex apps built for healthcare and life sciences?
Oh boy. So that's a big topic. And let me just suffice to say, you probably heard about the Cerner acquisition by Oracle, and they have a tool, a technology that was put together called Cerner Millennium, and it's used in healthcare offices around the world, and it is being completely rewritten as an Apex app. So I can't show you that right now, but I can show you examples of other Apex apps that should give you a good idea of where you can go with this. From the Oracle forums, you can go to apex.oracle.com/forum and be brought right to the Apex category within this forum. And although it's not a healthcare app, you can see exactly a public app that is ready to go that is all built in Apex. And the fact that it's able to do this with submitting information, answering questions, and having the opportunity for you to even search for questions that have already been asked where you can see the answers is exactly how those enterprise apps get built out. During the pandemic response and COVID-19, the Apex team worked with the US government, the Center for Disease Control, and we created a variety of apps during the pandemic that were huge. I mean, those are what Larry Ellison is talking about when we're scaling the millions of users on Oracle Cloud with Autonomous Database. And one of them was vSafe. So if you have seen any of that online, we have a bunch of blogs that are out there that talk about some of this content in great detail. But again, we have other apps, and the Ideas app for Apex is another good example of an app that works brilliantly on a mobile phone. So you could just imagine where if the content was healthcare related, any of these rich features would be brought to bear very easily using Apex compared to other high code options that are out there. So, I mean, I could bore you to tears with all these different examples, but there are some out there. And when the Cerner Millennium is completely rewritten and brought into production, I'm sure we're going to have another blog talking about that and the success story behind it. From there, know also that we have under solutions a whole list of success stories, and some of these customers that are successful in using Apex are healthcare related. So bear that in mind. We have MR Health Tech. They're a company that you might review here. We did a business innovation series with them. There's also a link to that video where you can see exactly what they did and why and how they were successful using Apex.
Great. Another question that just came in is, what are the main differences if you subscribe to something like ATP or any database service compared to using the Apex or subscribing to the Apex service itself directly?
So there are no limitations on purpose on the Apex service. One of them is NoSQL Net connectivity. So as I touched on briefly earlier, it depends on what features you need to actually have in order to use your Apex service as a developer. Many developers don't need all those features of Oracle Cloud. They just want to run Apex, right? They don't care about all that functionality, so they can get away with the minimal cost of Apex service, which is around $400 a month. Full ATP starts at around $1,000 a month, for example, but that gives you full SQL Net connectivity, access to other Oracle Cloud features, and basically it's a Google search away if you want greater detail. There's a lot of blogs that we've posted that have to do with talking about these different issues in terms of limitations, and they're not really issues. I mean, we're offering different features of the product that scale with the needs of your budget and scale with the needs of your application deployment, depending on what it is. So that's why I'm saying there's really no quick and hard, fast best practice. It's all subjective based on your needs.
All right. And we have one complaint here. Why do we still not have a migration from Oracle Forms to Apex?
Well, let's think about that for a second. The reason is it's really a manual process. Even back prior to Apex 21, I think, when we removed support for the migration, it was still going to be, you have to revisit every page. Maybe it's a perfect opportunity to revisit the business logic or even the approach to the solution. When you're modernizing, it's not just moving from one platform to another. Maybe it's about reimagining the solution. And we found out that there were more complaints about the migration path than there were successes, because it was almost just easier to reevaluate the tool as it was in Oracle Forms and rebuild it in Apex one page at a time. We do have a best practices and an FAQ around Oracle Forms modernization. It's again a Google search away. But beyond that, there are also partners that specialize in doing forms to APEX conversions as well. Some of them have some tools that make the job easier. Some of them are full white glove services where you don't have to do any of the work yourself. You just turn over the Oracle Forms access, and they're able to build an APEX app within a particular time. And that might suit your needs. But if you really want to do it yourself, you're best to review it page by page and rebuild those pages. Go ahead, Marcos.
Sorry, Jason, there's an interesting question here. Someone was asking whether it's possible to consume data from MySQL server, or sorry, I guess Microsoft.
Yeah, I see that. So
maybe.
yeah, if you know of a data set, it doesn't matter where it is. One way or another, there's a way to consume that data in APEX, but that is an exercise of a database feature to that database feature. So it's really outside of the scope of APEX in general. But with Oracle Heterogeneous Services in Oracle Cloud, you can directly connect an APEX instance on that database to the Microsoft database and pull that data in via DB Link as one option, or via REST as well. So at the end of the day, if wherever that target data is accessible from your database where you're running APEX, then you can definitely consume that data. And depending on how it's configured, you can edit the data with full CRUD capabilities as well. Many people that utilize that kind of solution dump data down from that third-party database to the local database for higher performance. I mean, sometimes we're talking about moving millions of rows. You don't necessarily want to be doing live queries over the wire. The features of Oracle database like materialized views and all these other different ways of caching the data locally can improve performance tremendously. So basically, if it's all about Oracle database, any of those features already in Oracle database, an APEX app can take advantage of. So Ram just asked in chat instead of Q&A, APEX is not just a development tool, but a production deployment also. Yes. Yeah, absolutely. APEX, a particular instance, right? Just one instance theoretically could be used just fine to have a workspace for dev apps, a workspace for UAT or stage, and even a workspace in prod. I myself worked like that for years as a APEX developer doing stuff. We didn't have the luxury of all these different instances we could spin up on Autonomous. But today, you can have multiple instances of APEX in cloud and designate one as dev, one as UAT or stage, and one as production, and use some kind of pipeline to move the the apps to production as you see fit, depending on your needs. You have a lot of tremendous opportunities there. One quick question I see is, can I publish PWAs to an Apple Store? At this time, you can do it, right? But you have to use third-party tools. And generally speaking, that's just basically a WebKit component that is using a URL. APEX today does not support offline functionality, but it is on our roadmap to offer the ability to publish to the various stores like the Apple Store and the Google Play Store. But today, that's all about really just doing an app that's going to a URL, and you still need internet connectivity to use that app. So definitely possible, is that we want to make it even easier to do, and that's coming in a future release of APEX.
I think on the previous slide, we got a couple of questions. Okay. But one there is saying that the person wants to understand what is the meaning of not supporting offline functionalities, and what represents that, the any application that you were talking about, right?
So just think of it this way: because APEX is in Oracle database, if you have no internet connection, like maybe you're playing Words for Friends right on your phone, that can allow you to play a move without having any internet at all. And then when you get back to internet range, it then syncs back to the database, and the UI is all local. But with APEX, it's all based on what comes back from the database after every request. So that connection is required for every request to Oracle database and APEX for every response to come back to in real time. Because APEX is all about real-time data. It's not about offline today. It is on our roadmap to offer offline capabilities, but that's on a future release roadmap.
Hey, Jason, there's one question specifically on that. Someone asking, when is 23.3 timeline for autonomous database? When is that going to be? If you know.
APEX is on 23.2. ORDS has 23.3 rolling out. So I got the notice, I think just the other day, it was being pushed out. And again, 40 regions, they start from the smaller regions and work their way up. So if you're one of the larger regions like Ashburn or Frankfurt, it might take a few more days for it to come out, but it's definitely rolling out.
Excellent.
And even if you need the features of Quick SQL and you're waiting on that latest release of ORDs, you can go to apexoracle.com and experiment with Quick SQL there as well. In addition, there is a GitHub repository for Quick SQL now, and you can actually, it's open source. You can run Quick SQL yourself, independent of cloud and independent of Apex, which is really kind of cool.
Person saying that if the ATP or ADW is inside a VCN, right, which is exactly what you're showing here, but the customer need access to APEX from the internet, asking whether that is possible.
Right. You're going to work with a reverse proxy of some form to get that up and going. And that's all very clearly documented. You could just Google it and you're going to find some documentation that answers exactly that question. For those that may not be familiar, I mean, a lot of this stuff is, it seems like really great new questions, but they've been asked for years now that Oracle has had cloud infrastructure. And we've tried to improve our documentation over time to make sure that a lot of these questions that are answered, even on the Oracle support forum, or not support forum, but the customer forums where people are asking database questions and autonomous database questions. A lot of these questions have been asked over and over again, and we do our best to answer them by simply updating a lot of the documentation that supports how to go about using those features. Do we have time for another quick question?
Yeah, we have a few. So
Conrad asked, is it hard to store files like PDFs from an Apex form and object storage? It's extremely easy. I mean, I wish I could share all the URLs, but I'd blow you all away. But this in Apex 23.3, we now support object storage for static files, and you can also upload files directly to object storage. We have some good blogs that cover all these topics. One more, what tools can make Apex PWA Apple Store compatible? I would recommend you Google deploy web app on Apple Store. There are a bunch of different tools out there, wrappers that allow you to actually take that URL, configure it for the tool, and then deploy it to the various stores. It is possible today with some other tools. I think Google's got one. There's another tool called Cordova that used to be used. All of them still work just fine, but again, they require an active internet connection in order to use them. Is Apex Development Instance available for always free tier? Apex Development Instance is available for anywhere you have Oracle database up and running, including the free tier. Okay, so you can literally, and I'll go ahead and mark that as answered. If you do an always free service on Oracle Cloud, you deploy Apex, you're able to develop. You're even able to share those URLs with your friends, investors, family, whatever, and they can use those applications. But you're going to hit limits at some point, right? You're not going to be able to deploy an always free database and then Apex, and then build an app that's going to be shared on the internet, across hundreds of users and expect it to stand up without having to move to paid eventually. The whole idea is you can develop on always free. You can deploy an app to be, exposed, but you're going to need to upgrade to a paid tier to get the robustness of having more support through ORDs, more memory, more OCPUs, and all that storage above and beyond what you can get with the free services. So you might say free is for me, but just be aware that there are issues in thinking that you're going to get away with only free services. You will reach a point where you're going to want to make that journey to upgrading to a paid tier. It's very reasonable and very cost effective.
How does Apex compare with other low-code tool like Visual Builder Cloud Service for app development?
Well, I mean, at the end of the day, Visual Builder Cloud Service is not, it's low code in some approaches, but it's still a code generator, right? There's still limitations in its approach for what you can do out of the box. They solve different problems between Visual Cloud Builder and Apex. It really depends on what you're doing. The Visual Builder can be the go-to for SaaS extensions. It has connectivity in some ways that are more out of the box geared for that, but Apex is more about true, totally customized applications that you have control over down to the nitty-gritty granular level if you wish to. So you have a lot more control over Apex. With other third parties, you just don't have the power of Oracle Autonomous. Oracle Autonomous is all about the machine learning, hands-off approach from a DBA's perspective, where the database just keeps running and automatically tunes itself and keeps its experience for the end users, swimmingly smooth. Whereas in the past, and with other competitors, they have services that don't have any of the features of Autonomous. So you're really not comparing apples to apples at all. And then when you talk about Apex, I mean, we're continuously improving our product at a pace that few can keep up with. And if you just look at the last several years of Apex releases, we have so many new features. APEX 23.2 now releases with visual workflow and the ability to do working copies and improving CI/CD and the ability to work with pipelines. And we have a bunch of technical papers around a lot of these subjects as well. So I'll make sure Marcos has an opportunity to share that with you.
Hey, Ram, I'll allow you to talk, so that it might be faster, right? Go ahead.
Okay, can you hear me okay?
Yep.
Yes, we can.
Okay, a quick question. So the question of sizing, assume I have an autonomous database, so let's say 5 terabytes, and I want to launch applications, APEX applications. Is it better to have a separate APEX instance or use the APEX, which is now part of my database? And how do I size it?
Well, see, that's a dynamic question because you could write a SQL query in your Apex app that's so poorly performant that it brings the database to its knees, right? If everything is very well vetted in terms of its performance, the code is reviewed for its efficiency, you can scale very easily with maybe one OCPU is plenty for hundreds of users. Maybe 2 OCPU because you have heavier workloads based on what's being processed in the background. Apex is very scalable, but because of the power of ORDs and how fast and how much ORDS brings to the table in terms of its ability, ORDS scales extremely well. And you probably won't even need to think about ORDS until you start hitting thousands and thousands of concurrent users. But remember, you can scale the autonomous database that Apex is running on by OCPU and storage as well. There's no hard and fast answer to what you need. You kind of got to get in there, take a look at your app, and then give it a shot and see how it performs on various instances and various configurations and make decisions from there.
Okay, so I can easily build an APEX app on the very same instance that I have. No need of a separate APEX instance.
Absolutely, until you prove otherwise, or until somebody in your organization says, don't do that, right? They may have a particular reason. You can run APEX on an EBS database, but there are some organizations that refuse to allow it. So it's going to be completely subjective.
Okay. So
it's not because of a limitation of Apex or the infrastructure or machinery making it possible. It's because some people have predisposed or preconceived notions that things should be or should not be done a particular way. In terms of best practice, it depends.
Okay, got it. So even if I have a separate Apex instance, I can still connect to my ADB.
Sure. Yeah,
yep.
You can publish REST APIs right from Apex even, and then consume them from another Apex instance. You have a lot of different opportunities there.
Thank you.
All right, thank you, Ram. And one question I think was whether, when to use the custom managed ORDs versus the default ORDs built into ADB, Jayson.
So that would be for like authentication. When you want to scale up to use social sign-on, you're going to probably need some of these features of custom managed ORDs because you might want to deploy Apache Tomcat to handle some of these other features, or you might want to use WebLogic because you have other features that hook in to different identity providers that is more easily achieved because you're using that middle tier that you're able to configure yourself. Because out of the box, we don't configure WebLogic. We don't configure Apache Tomcat with your ORDs middle tier. That's up to you to do if you want to jump up to that. And some organizations immediately, they have the history of using WebLogic. They want to continue using WebLogic, maybe for a lot of good reasons, but it just expands their horizons of opportunities. But it's not required in order to use Apex. You can use a plain vanilla ORDs, even in standalone on the same database server if you wish to deploy Apex to your developers and users.
Excellent. All right, guys. So, and I think one last question, migration with data to a new tenancy, if there are best practices for that.
So it depends. I mean, data, if you're not going to do this very easily on Apex service, right? There's no SQLnet connectivity. You'd have to use other workarounds using object storage and using features of data pump on your, say, on premises to export a data pump file, push it to object storage, and then use features in your cloud console to then bring back in that schema, and then use Apex to map a workspace to that schema. All those different things can be achieved, but it's one of those things, again, I can't just say this is the best practice because it depends, right? You might be able, if your app is small, Apex feature called data packager, and your ability to build supporting object scripts in your app so that when you export your Apex app, you can then import it on the target Apex instance and have the database objects all built out and have all the data built out that you put in the data packager. That might work perfectly well for you, but there are limitations there as well to how far you can go with it. So the whole notion of best practices is, I want to say, is more a myth in general, because it really does depend on your use case and what you're trying to do. And of course, your skill level. Some people are not comfortable using the features of that a DBA would be expected to use, but they're there for you to learn about and there for you to figure out what works best for your purposes.
Excellent. That's great. Thank you very much, Jayson. I think that's all we have for now in terms of questions.
All right. Well, we're at the
great.
top of the hour. I hope this has been educational for everyone still left on the call hearing my voice. I know that it's a lot of information to rapidly download within an hour, but this is about getting you excited about doing Oracle APEX development on Autonomous Database and Oracle Cloud.
Excellent. Yeah, thank you very much. Really appreciate it, Jayson. It was a great session. Thank you, Vlad, for answering all the questions as well. It was great. I know it was a lot of typing there, so really appreciate it. So I'm putting also on again in chat the links. Take a look at the chat. So Jayson put several links there as well, so you guys can use them. All right. So guys, again, thank you very much for joining, and thank you, Jayson, and thank you, Vlad, again. Really appreciate it. Final thoughts. Related to the sessions, I'm going to make sure that the recordings are available here in the main blog, also available back at the Ask Tom interface, and also YouTube, right, which is going to be the source for the video itself, right? And then so next week, coming up, we have the data safe session, and that's going to be our last session for the year. So I hope you guys can make it. Thank you very much again for everyone that joined today. Appreciate it. And thank you again, Jayson, and thank you, Vlad. It was a great session. So
thank you for having us, Marcos, and thank you, Marcos. We appreciate having us. Thank you, Vlad, for being there to answer all those questions. I just posted a link about forms to APEX modernization. Monica Godoy is our leader in our forms to APEX modernization on the APEX product management team, and her blog is a FAQ about that particular topic.
All right. Perfect. Thank you very much.
All right. Bye, everyone. See you next time.
Really appreciate it, guys. Thank you.